Jimmy Gale is one of three Grand Marshals for this year's Southern Decadence Parade Labor Day weekend in New Orleans. How does one get such an honor? Could it be because he has worked in the field of HIV prevention and care for nearly 15 years? Or is it because he is heavily involved with the leather and fetish community, serving on the board of the CrescentCity Leathermen and brings sex positivity and sexual health education to the LGBTQ plus community? Or maybe it could be because Jimmy could be found slinging drinks behind the bar at the historic New Orleans Phoenix, the Crescent City's only leather bear fetish bar, which recently celebrated 40 years. Whatever the reason, we have a lot to talk about. Jimmy, come on in.
Hey, Amber.
Hey, Jimmy, you're a busy boy.
I am. But thank you so much for having me today.
It's always nice to be had, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
All right. I know what Southern Decadence is, but some of my viewers may not. So how would you describe Southern Decadence?
Southern Decadence is an interesting combination of all the best parts of Gay Pride Month and a little bit of Folsom Street Fair mixed in too. Southern Decadence this is the 51st year of Southern Decadence, and I'm honored to be one of the Grand Marshals this year. And here in New Orleans, Gay Pride in New Orleans is a beautiful thing, but Southern Decadence has way more people here, way more functions and events, and over 500,000 tourists that fly in every single year for it.
I know I was one of those tourists several years ago, and oh my gosh, our entourage, a hurricane had just gone through, and when you know it, the French Quarter was the only place in the city that had power that weekend. Yes, and oh my God, it was so hot and humid, but oh my God, there was a lot of hot bodies out there too.
Oh yeah.
What's your favorite part of Southern Decadence?
My favorite part of Southern Decadence is just I'll be honest, all of the sexy men that come into town. There's so many different events that are happening everywhere, and combinations of circuit parties, dance parties, sex parties that are happening in all corners of our fair city. And you get to see a lot of body positivity and diversity, which is always a nice thing.
Yes, it is. Who are your honorees for the Grand Marshal?
I'm very fortunate to be sharing this honor with two gorgeous drag queens. First and foremost, the lovely Nicole DuBois, who's based out of Mississippi, and Monica Synclaire-Kennedy, who is local, born and raised here in New Orleans. And both have been on the scene for a long, long time and have paid their dues. And those two love them some rhinestones and some feathers. And I bring the leather to this year's team.
Now, I've heard that you have appeared in drag before. Is that true?
I do. Yes. I've lived in New Orleans. It'll be 4 years this October. That's my Knowle-iversary. But before that, I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I performed in drag there for about 14 years, couple shows a week all over the Bay Area. But when I moved to New Orleans, it was just too hot and humid. So I threw that lady up in the attic, because it's always a race to see which eyebrow gets to my tits first. It's so sweaty.
What is or was your drag name?
My drag name is Stephanie Nicole LaDream. And this weekend, I will actually be hosting Gay Pride in Reno, Nevada. I'm flying out to cross-dress for fame and fortune and bring community together. I'm very excited. I don't miss the shaving, but I do miss getting to entertain a crowd.
Isn't that the truth? That's the most fun of all of it. Now, you said you were born and raised in San Francisco. What was it like growing up there?
The Bay Area is a beautiful, diverse community and a little bit of everything. Growing up in the Bay Area, an hour in any direction was an entirely different climate. If I wanted to go to the ocean, go that way. If I wanted snow, go the other way. You want the redwood forests, head north. And if you want some desert heat, head south. It was a little bit of everything, and my family is all still back there. I'm the first person in my entire family to ever leave the Bay Area, which was very scary. But looking back on it, I'm really glad that I took the plunge and drove cross country with my little dog Ursula to start a new life here in New Orleans.
Now, were you involved with the HIV community in San Francisco?
I was. Before going into the before going into sexual health work, I was a makeup artist and a trainer. And I was always very outspoken about sexual health and making sure that my friends were getting tested and carrying condoms with them. And then I was diagnosed with HIV. And in that moment, I was 24 years old, and everything that I knew about HIV just went out the window. And I made a decision with my own experience going through a diagnosis to change careers. And I joined a local LGBT nonprofit as a volunteer and quickly got hired on as the HIV prevention coordinator and worked my way up through small LGBT nonprofits to major HIV organizations in San Francisco. And it has been such a rewarding experience to advocate on behalf of my community and be sex positive about it. There's so much stigma around HIV and sex in general. And we're human beings and we try to do things that make us feel good. So as long as you're not harming anyone and you're taking control, there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm doing that work in San Francisco. Now I do that here in Louisiana. And let me tell you, we have a lot of work to do.
Are your clients there in New Orleans? What's the majority of your clients?
I am not providing direct care at this current stage in my career. I am managing some bigger programs, but my focus tends to be more about educating the community about health equity, about how social justice and racial justice impact this work, and just making sure that everyone is aware about all of their various options. So we're educating people about PrEP. We're letting people know that undetectable equals untransmittable. We're doing trainings about sex positivity, because even healthcare professionals have a hard time talking about sex, and that's kind of our whole job. So that's the work that I'm doing here. But even after hours, I do a lot of condom distribution throughout the city. I provide free rapid HIV tests to a lot of the LGBTQ spaces around town. And my phone is always blowing up, usually around 3 a.m. when somebody's having a bit of a panic. And I'll talk them down and share some resources and make sure they get set up with the most appropriate care and team that I can find.
They're soon going to lessen the restrictions on men who have sex with men donating blood. What are your comments about that?
I think it is a wonderful opportunity. The restrictions had been, lessened a while back. It's for men who have sex with men that abstained from sex for a certain number of months. They were made eligible, but come on, abstinence is no fun. I think it's a great opportunity for us to give back. I remember being in high school and they were doing a blood drive and I walked up and they wouldn't let me give blood. And I'm like, yeah, I was sexually active at the time, but that was so traumatizing. And there's this huge need for plasma donations across the country. And we got plenty of stuff to offer. And just making that contribution to help others in a time of need is really powerful. So I hope that it can come to fruition. And I hope that our community lines up around the block to give what they can.
Russell has some pictures to show us. Russell, put one of those pictures up and let Jimmy talk about it.
This is me with my gorgeous co-Grand Marshals. The night of the announcement, when the community found out who their Grand Marshals were going to be, we were joking about how one of these days we're going to take some of those old school glamour shot photos just in furs and jewels. And I wasn't sure if it was actually going to happen, but when we did the poster photo shoot, all of us showed up with our furs and jewels just in case. And this is one of my favorite pictures with the ladies. I have it framed in my house, and I think we're going to use it as thank you cards this year. Just something silly nice to make us laugh and a cherished memory now.
Another picture?
This was just taken a few weeks ago. We had a great event on Bourbon Street at the Bourbon Pub and Parade called On Your Nerves. And this photo features the 3 Grand Marshals. We're down there in front. Both of my gorgeous gals are out of drag, serving trade. But as you can see, everyone in the crowd is wearing blue, green, or black. And those are our different entourages. So Monica Synclaire-Kennedy, her team is wearing blue. Nicole DuBois' team is wearing green. And my team is all wearing black because it's the only color I wear.
Black
so we
is
have a really great, diverse crowd. Oh, it's very slimming, but it's going to be miserable on parade day, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But our group is very diverse. We have men, we have women, we have people of trans experience. It's very body positive. And we have people of all different sexual orientations. So I'm really excited that we're bringing more communities together this year.
Tell me about the bar you sling drinks at.
The New Orleans Phoenix. When I first came to New Orleans about 6 years ago, a colleague of mine in San Francisco who had treated me for my sexual escapades said, you know what? I know where you need to go. And he directed me to the Phoenix. And he was not wrong. And as I stumbled back to my hotel that night, walking in cursive, I had to send him an edible arrangement as a thank you. The Phoenix is the home for all things leather, fetish, bear, pups, kink. And it's just a friendly neighborhood dive bar that's open 24 hours. We have the strongest, cheapest drinks in New Orleans. It's cash only, but every cocktail is a double. So it's a great space to meet people. The Phoenix has also become a hub for like health and wellness too. Last year, when monkeypox, now mpox, started making waves across the country, I worked with my job with the health department to bring some vaccinations to the Phoenix because nobody could get their hands on them at that point. And we had said, we'll have 300 doses available, first come, first serve. I showed up 3 hours early to set up, and there were already 300 people in line. Wow. And my boss showed up and said, we're going to need more shots. And I'm like, I told you so. And he ran back, brought 200 more doses, and the nurses stayed an extra 4.5 hours so that nobody got turned away. So the Phoenix does a lot for the community to bring people together, whether it's on sexual health, reproductive justice. We also host the annual World AIDS Day memorial there. Following the Club Q shooting, we had a beautiful memorial outside of the bar. I'm proud to call the Phoenix my home because it's not just a seedy little dive bar. It has a lot of heart. And the staff comes together regularly to lift each other up and really address the needs of the community. It's a great space. You should come and check us out.
I would love to. I talk to a lot of drag queens from all over the country and talking about how they've been attacked, how Proud Boys have showed up at their performances, their drag queen story hours, get invaded by Nazis shouting at them. Anything like that going on in New Orleans?
New Orleans in and of itself is a little blue island in a deep red state. When you're here in New Orleans, of course, there's going to be bigotry and shame and hatred, but for the most part, it is a very welcoming city. When you leave New Orleans, that's when it gets a little bit scarier. And I know that smaller cities have had some issues with people showing up and causing a scene at drag brunches and story hours. We're not seeing a lot of that there, but I know it's an ongoing fear. Louisiana recently did pass their own version of the Don't Say Gay bill. And they also passed a bill banning gender-affirming care for transgender and gender nonconforming youth, which was then vetoed, but the legislature has decided to call a special session and try and override it. So it's a scary time. My friends that perform across the state, in some of these states that did implement a drag ban, it's a scary time. And it's concerning because we're just entertainers. We're out here making a couple bucks, but mostly trying to make people smile and have a good time. And as I'm preparing to head out to Reno in a couple days to host Pride, I always do a number every year where I invite all of the youth on stage with me to perform. And by some people's standards, that makes me a groomer. So just to make matters worse, I'm going to be doing some drag queen story time during the day, reading books like Alligators Don't Like Flowers that talks about people that are different and finding ways to celebrate, or 'Twas the Night Before Pride, which is a beautiful children's book that tells the story of Stonewall. So you know what, maybe I am out here indoctrinating your children, but I'll do it damn good in a sequin caftan. So watch out.
Okay, Labor Day weekend, you're Grand Marshal of Southern Decadence. What are your obligations other than looking stunning as you're riding along in a convertible?
Obligations. So the Southern Decadence Grand Marshals, their only job is to raise the money to put on the parade. That's our only job. And we have to put on a show about it. Southern Decadence is one of the largest LGBT events in the world. And we have over 500,000 tourists that fly in every year. So the Grand Marshals are tasked with the grueling job of picking the theme, the colors, the song, and the charity. And me and the girls, we spent months going back and forth about different ideas, and we settled on Wicked, Wet, and Wild. So Nicole DuBois is wicked, Monica is wet, and I am wild. And we have our colors, Kelly green, royal blue, and black for me. Our song this year is People Like Us by Kelly Clarkson. With everything going on in the world today and all of the attacks on drag queens and people that are different, we really wanted to pick an anthem that would be fun and catchy and really bring the community together. Anytime we're out and about in the bars, in the quarter, we are expected to wear a whistle. It's one of those weird Southern Decadence traditions that I kind of hate. But I'm participating. Anytime we walk into one of the gay bars, we are supposed to crank that whistle as loud as we can. And as soon as we do, the DJ immediately stops what they're playing and they put on the song. So I got about 6 more weeks to go. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to hate the song by then. But as of right now, it still just makes me super happy. We hear it every single day, at least 5 times. And then the last one was picking our charity. And this year, in previous years, they've oftentimes picked 2 or 3 local charities and gave them a little check at the end of it, whatever extra money is raised. The girls put me in charge of it this year. So I picked one charity that means a whole lot to me. And we're supporting No Age, which is a group that celebrates and uplifts the needs of our aging LGBTQ plus population. This is the generation that started Southern Decadence 51 years ago, that survived not 1, but 2 global pandemics, and have really paved the way for my generation and those that came after me. So my personal goal is to raise $10,000 to give to No Age at the end of all this. And we are almost there. So I'm going to up it to $20,000 is my goal. We have been fundraising every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the last 4 months, and I am exhausted. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime honor. So you can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. So me and the girls have been working really hard. Our entourage is showing up hard. And we're working on our costumes to make sure Southern Decadence 51 is a show unlike any other.
Jimmy, you are an inspiration. I can't tell you how much I admire your work that you have done, the work you are doing. I love the No Age charity. I really love that and appreciate that. And the good work that you're doing. Thank you so much. Good luck, and try to stay dry and cool down in New Orleans.
I'm probably going to be stuffing my leather costume with ice packs that day. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. Most of my entourage will be next to naked, but nobody wants to see all this. So we'll see. Well, you know what? Maybe somebody does. But my mom's going to be there. She's flying in. She doesn't need to see all this, but it'll be fun. And for anybody that's watching or listening, please come on down to New Orleans. You won't want to miss it. Me and the girls have worked really hard. And stop by the Phoenix, and I'll pour you one of those extra strength drinks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Amber. Bye, everyone.
I can't wait to get back to New Orleans and meet him in person.